2025 will go down as one of the most unpredictable, contradictory, and emotionally charged seasons MotoGP has seen in years. A championship defined by Ducati's overwhelming control, Aprilia's long-awaited emergence as a genuine title-fighting project, and Marc Márquez completing one of the most memorable redemption arcs in modern racing. Yet, for Jorge Martín, the season became something far more personal. What should have been the proud defense of his #1 plate unraveled into the toughest, most psychologically demanding chapter of his career. And paradoxically, it might also be the season that sets up one of the most remarkable comebacks MotoGP has witnessed since Márquez himself rebuilt his legacy. To understand how this is even possible, we need to look at Martín's turbulent relationship with Aprilia, how the RSGP evolved without him, and how he has changed emotionally, mentally, and technically as he prepares for 2026. Because this story was never a simple tale of disappointment. It became the moment when a manufacturer and a rider unexpectedly aligned at exactly the right time. Jorge Martín didn't sugarcoat a single part of his 2025 collapse. When he reflected on the season, he called it what it felt like, a shitty year. It was a raw, unfiltered admission, one that captured the chaos and disconnection he'd lived through. But crucially, it wasn't said in anger. It was said with perspective. "This shitty year won't define my career," he added calmly, almost as if he were stating a fact rather than a hope. Despite missing most of the rounds, Martín insisted he learned more in 2025 than during his title-winning campaign in 2024. At first, that sounds impossible, but the explanation revealed everything. He discovered that success teaches you very little. Only struggle forces you to evolve. "I learned very little from last year, the year I was crowned champion. From this one, I've learned much more." And what he learned wasn't about late braking, racecraft, or corner speed. It was about maturity, about how to cope with adversity, how to rebuild confidence, how to manage pressure when the results vanish and expectations remain. He even reevaluated his preparation and discipline. "I'm going to be better. I'm going to compete better. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to train better." Then came the emotion behind it all. He admitted that this brutal season made him rediscover something crucial, his love for MotoGP itself. "I've learned that I love this sport more than I imagined. This year gave me that, not last year." When a reigning champion says words like that, they aren't signs of defeat. They're signs of a psychological reset. And that reset arrived precisely when Aprilia found themselves quietly morphing into one of the strongest programs on the grid. Because Aprilia's trajectory in early 2025 was anything but promising. The RSGP felt inconsistent, the development direction looked muddy, the rider lineup lacked structure. But by mid-season, something dramatic changed. With Martín sidelined, Marco Bezzecchi unexpectedly became the team leader, and he didn't simply hold the ship together, he elevated it. A breakthrough victory at Silverstone lit the fuse, followed by relentless podium-level pace and a momentum-shifting double win to close the season. For Aprilia, this surge wasn't a surprise. It was the culmination of years of incremental work finally clicking. For Martín, watching it happen from the sidelines was eye-opening. The truth is, no, I didn't expect it. But that realization wasn't painful. It was reassuring. It means my choice last year was the right one. He praised Bezzecchi with genuine admiration. "Marco surprised me. Seeing him getting used to winning races on the Aprilia really surprised me." Those words mattered more than they seemed. They showed that Martín now viewed Aprilia not as a long-term gamble, but as a team already capable of beating Ducati outright. And going into 2026, that belief changes everything. The post-race Valencia test then became a symbolic turning point, one Martín desperately needed. Overnight rain wiped out over 2 hours of usable track time, forcing Aprilia into a frantic schedule of new chassis evaluations, updated fairings, ergonomic tweaks, and aerodynamic trials. Bezzecchi summarized the day perfectly. Not enough time to really understand. Mixed feelings, as always in testing. Martín agreed, but amid the chaos, he found one breakthrough worth everything. For me, the biggest step was the chassis. Turning was more natural. It fits my style. For the first time all season, he found a component of the RSGP that didn't fight him, something that felt instinctive. This was no small detail. This was the core of his riding identity. Aero changes still puzzled him, something he admitted openly. It's difficult for me to understand when we change things like the fairing. But what mattered wasn't the confusion, it was the direction. Aprilia had finally delivered a base package that matched his strengths, and Martín said the team ended the season with a really good feeling, something they would carry into their winter development plan. One unresolved issue remained: rear drive traction. His trademark advantage had not yet translated to the Aprilia. Still, the drive is a big issue for me. Normally, it's my strongest point. To fix it, he planned targeted ergonomic updates for the Sepang test. In Malaysia, I will change the foot pegs to help improve my style with the Aprilia. This wasn't guesswork. It was precision, a sequence of small, deliberate changes designed to rebuild the natural flow that made him world champion. Then came the comparisons, the ones Martín never asked for but analysts couldn't ignore. Some observers began linking his situation to Marc Márquez's legendary comeback. But the comparison wasn't based on emotion, it was based on riding style. Matt Oxley pointed out, everybody looks good on the Aprilia. It reminds me of watching Marc Márquez on the Honda. A statement like that carries weight, but then Oxley added the detail that made it meaningful. He's just over that thing, squeezing every last bit of performance out of it. This is a riding style that only works on certain bikes. Bikes that allow commitment, agility, and blind faith in the front end. Bikes that demand bravery rather than caution. And the RSGP now fits that description. Martín himself noticed the parallel. After watching Márquez lift the 2025 title, he remembered discussing the documentary about Márquez's long struggle back to the top. It is beautiful. Watching the video of the recovery, I said to my girlfriend, "Who does it remind you of?" A quiet acknowledgement of the similarities. And yet Martín stayed humble. I don't want to compare myself to Marc Márquez. He's a completely different person. And then came the 8 words that changed everything. But I know I can do it also. For the first time, Martín publicly connected belief to possibility. Across the final races and the Valencia test, Martín spoke openly about the mental challenge he'd carried. Riding with fear of crashing. Riding with margin. Riding without confidence. When you ride with this margin to not crash, you cannot take the confidence. It was honesty at its purest, but he immediately clarified the barrier was temporary. As soon as I feel 100%, I can take more risks. Risk for Martín is not carelessness. It's the backbone of his speed. And with a full winter of recovery, analysts expect his confidence to rise with his physical condition. His relationship with Aprilia, once strained through mid-season uncertainty, has stabilized into something stronger, something mutual. We made the decision together, and now I'm very happy because Aprilia is going very well. Alignment, trust, purpose. These are the ingredients of a real comeback. His contract expires at the end of 2026, and while rumors of the 2027 market are already in motion, Martín isn't entertaining them. It's still a bit early for me. He knows he must focus on rediscovering rhythm, precision, and race speed before making any decisions. He made it clear that he wants to begin the Sepang test at full throttle, emphasizing that performance, not negotiation, is the priority, because he understands exactly what is at stake. A strong 2026 makes him one of the most valuable riders in the 2027 market. A weak one resets everything. But he's not thinking in terms of pressure. He's thinking in terms of clarity. The mission is simple. Rebuild, reset, return. Aprilia now have a machine capable of beating Ducati on the right day. Bezzecchi and Raul Fernandez proved it repeatedly. Martín has finally found a chassis that suits his style. His mindset has shifted from frustration to focus. His motivation is at its highest since the 2024 title, and with a clean winter, he begins 2026 on level ground with the rest of the grid. Matt Oxney summed it up perfectly. Once everybody has had 2.5 months off, I think it'll be a bit more equal. And equality on the starting grid is all Martín needs. What happens next depends entirely on how fast he reconnects with the RSGP and how soon he regains the bravery required to push it to the limit. But based on everything he said, everything Aprilia has developed, and everything analysts have observed, the foundations for a major resurgence are already in place. He expressed it with quiet determination. Now it is my turn to be able to rise again. A difficult year will not define Martín, but 2026 might. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.